Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce today's speaker, a true legend in the LSA community. For 8 years, he has been a cornerstone of our school, including that very first unforgettable year when LSA opened its doors. But his dedication to education stretches even further. For our 20 summers, he has inspired young minds as an instructor at the Governor's School, a place that has shaped many of the best educational practices we use here at LSA. Mr. Peay's commitment goes beyond the classroom. He is a steadfast supporter at nearly every school event, and his classroom is always open, a welcoming space for anyone who needs a helping hand, a listening ear, or just a place to belong. His creativity, positivity, and helpfulness are legendary, and our students know they can always count on him, especially if they're hoping for a Twilight reference in class. And while the mystery of which movie he appeared in remains unsolved, one thing is certain: his impact on our community is no secret. Please join me in welcoming our 23-24 Teacher of the Year, Mr. Peay.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Williams. Good afternoon, soon-to-be graduates, families, friends, and dear colleagues. I also see a couple of my former students, Maya Lynn, Amy G. Dalla. Thank you both for being here today. For those of you that I haven't met yet, I teach creative writing and cognitive development here at Longleaf. The opportunity to speak to the class of 2025 today is something I will cherish forever. As a cognitive development teacher, I think often about the processes of the human brain. As a creative writing teacher, I think often about stories. Today, I want to share 3 brief stories. One about the miracle of art, one about the gift of failure, and one about the miracle of us, this moment, this community, this story we're all a part of. The first story features 2 of my favorite things, monkeys and Shakespeare. There's a famous thought experiment called the infinite monkey theorem. You may have heard of it. The idea is that if you gave an infinite number of monkeys and an infinite number of typewriters, eventually they would produce Shakespeare's Hamlet. This is a wild claim, but one that's endured in philosophy and probability circles for decades. In 2002, the University of Plymouth in England tried a much smaller scale, real-life version of this experiment. They placed several macaque monkeys in a zoo enclosure with keyboards for about 2 months. The results were unsurprisingly chaotic. One monkey smashed the keyboard with a rock. Several others pooped on the keyboards. At the end of the experiment, they had produced a total of 5 pages of text, mostly the letter S. No Hamlet, nothing close to Shakespeare, not even a sentence, not even a word. While this ended up feeling more like performance art than a serious scientific inquiry, it does highlight an important point. The creation of a meaningful work of art is not inevitable. It's not random. It requires the miraculous convergence of millions upon millions of cognitive processes. So far, only humans seem capable of creating something like a Hamlet, or a Ninth Symphony, or a Swan Lake. This is my first main point. Art is a miracle. My cognitive development students have heard me say that the human brain is the most complex object in the known universe, that each of us carries within us more neural connections than there are stars in the Milky Way, a galaxy inside our brain. And just like stars, those connections are in constant flux. They grow stronger or weaker. They're born and they fade, all in response to the lives we lead. Through these processes, each of our galaxies becomes singular and unique. My second story is about failure and the strange, beautiful way it often becomes the soil where art takes root, the power of art and connection. When I was not much older than you, a recent graduate myself, I moved to London. On one of my first days there, alone in an unfamiliar city, I found myself wandering through the Peay Gallery, the British equivalent of the Museum of Modern Art. Turning a corner, I suddenly was face to face with a painting I had only ever seen on the flat pages of books and screens and dorm room posters. The Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh, painted in 1889. I was not prepared. The brushstrokes were alive with energy. The texture stood out from the canvas like scars. The colors pulsed with life. My throat caught, my knees buckled, and I nearly dropped to the ground, tears filling my eyes, overwhelmed by a thunderbolt of paint on canvas. Later, I read that Van Gogh painted more than 20 versions of The Starry Night, calling most of them failures. He was consumed by doubt, by illness, by loneliness, and yet, despite it all, he kept painting. With age, we often become too cautious, too careful. We put our head down and go to work, too hesitant to question, challenge, and thus improve the world, to take the risk inherent to innovation and creativity, too afraid to fail. But productive failure, kind that teaches, that stretches us, is essential to growth. Playwright Samuel Beckett once wrote, "Ever tried? Ever failed? No matter. Try again, fail again, fail better." This is my second main point. Failure is necessary, meaningful, and often becomes the residue left behind by our successes. I want to go back to that moment in the Peay Gallery and consider the miracle of the canvas that led to a communion between two strangers across time and space. In 1889, a small town in southern France, the galaxy of neural connections inside Vincent van Gogh's brain arranged itself in just the right way. Thoughts became emotions, emotions became impulses. Messages traveled down his spine, through his arms and fingers, and into the paintbrush. A cascade of perception and muscle twitches translated the landscape of Van Gogh's inner world into shape, texture, and color on the outer world of canvas. Then, over 100 years later, in London, light bounced off that same canvas and entered my eyes. Inside the galaxy of my brain, the light transformed into electrical signals which traveled to my visual cortex, where they reassembled into something resembling what Van Gogh saw. And this is where the miracle occurs. I felt what he felt. And now, today, as light reflects off the marks and squiggles on these pages, and sound waves carry these words, that miracle continues. My thoughts have now become vibrations in the air. Those vibrations reach your ears, finding homes in the galaxies of your brain. Your brains decode them into meaning, into emotion, into story. Viewed through this lens, every instance of connection is miraculous. Every shared story, every poem, every song is a bridge between the galaxies of connections in our brains. This is my third and final point. Human connection itself is a miracle. In one of his letters, Van Gogh once wrote that painting is perhaps a way of saying, "That's what I see. If only you could see it too." I wish you could have known that at least one person did, that I saw it too, that for a moment across time and space, our minds touched as I felt his loneliness and thus felt a little less alone myself. That, at its core, is what art can do. When we begin to see what others see, that is empathy. When we create art through music, dance, writing, painting, performance, we invite moments of empathy. We invite others to see what we see, and in doing so, we create communities. Communities of friends, communities of artists, communities of scholars, the community of Longleaf. Before I close, I want to remind you of something essential, the one thing that I hope you'll remember amidst all my words today. It is an assurance in the knowledge that each of you has a unique galaxy inside your brain, shaped by your experiences, unlike any other in history. There's never been anyone exactly like you. There never will be. You are one of one. You are irreplaceable. The world needs you. Your voice, your art, your stories, your way of seeing. Think once more about the millions upon millions of processes that have converged to bring us to this moment. A community forms when stories converge. And when you walk out of this building today, you'll carry the Longleaf story with you, but you'll also carry your own. My deepest hope is that wherever you go, through empathy, art, and the sharing of stories, you'll create new communities, that you'll make the world a little warmer, a little more connected, a little more human. I'm so grateful that for a brief and shining moment, our galaxies share the same sky. That we created something that might continue to resonate with each of you. A story woven with words and colors and music and dance and laughter and tears. The story of the class of 2025. A story that includes all of you. And one that I'm honored to be a small part of. Thank you.